Welcome back to NATOR'S Game Picks, ladies and gentlemen. Week 2 in the books. Quick recap from week 2. Not quite like how I wanted it from week 1. 8-8. So I got 8 games right, 8 games wrong. Among the games I got wrong, I got the Dolphins game wrong. Bills beat the Dolphins. I had the Ravens over the Raiders. Raiders won. I had the Cowboys over the Saints. Saints won. Lions over Bucks. Bucks won. I had Colts over Packers. Packers won. I had the Niners over the Vikings. The Vikings won. And we had I had the Patriots over the Seahawks. Seahawks won that one. And the Monday Night Football game where I picked the Eagles. The Falcons actually beat the Eagles. So that brings the total record of the year so far to 20-12. And that's all good, you know. Early season, still very young. So we're going into week 3. Now almost I would say the quarter way through the season, and that's when I'm gonna start doing the upset alerts. Week 4 after week 3 is kind of more fair to say that which teams are better and which teams are not as good, and then making it more fair to predict the upsets and calling it upsets. Without further ado, let's go ahead and look at week 3 and the slate of matchups coming to you this weekend.
Here comes the...
All right, so we're gonna go ahead and start it off with Thursday Night Football. Patriots at the Jets. Jets and the Pats here. Jets won their game against the Titans last week. The Patriots had their home opener, lost to the Seahawks. Very tough opponent. Good running. Good new direction under Mike McDonald, their new head coach. And the Patriots looking pretty good and disciplined under the Gerard Mayo regime, who was hired the new coach following the departing of Bill Belichick. Jets are at home here. I see this being a good Thursday night divisional matchup. I know last week's Thursday night was a blowout. Tua Tagovailoa suffered a concussion. You never like to see stuff like that, but this time I think it's going to be a fairly good matchup. The Patriots did draft a rookie quarterback, but they're starting their veteran in Jacoby Brissett. He's going to be playing another vet in Aaron Rodgers, who's coming into his own. Expect the Jets to utilize more of Braylon Allen, rookie out of Wisconsin, as he's the one sitting behind Breece Hall in that lineup. I expect a good defensive battle, and I think the home team prevails here, 22-17, giving the Jets their first win over a division opponent for 2024. Now we're going up to Sunday now. The first slate of games on Sunday. We have the Browns hosting the Giants. The Browns are hosting the Giants. I think the Giants played a lot better, showed more promise on offense this past week against the Commanders, although they fell short. They lost by 3 points. Going into the Browns, who are now hosting their second NFC East team at home. Their other 2 matches will be on the road against the other 2 opponents. I think the Browns here, still with Nick Chubb on IR, I think they can take advantage of the matchups here. The Giants actually made some upgrades on their defense, but again, that's where their offense, they can't get field goals in the red zone. They need to come away with touchdowns. The same goes for the Browns. They can't get field goals in the red zone. They got to come away with touchdowns, as they edged out a win against Jacksonville last week, but with a score of 18-13. I think the first out of these 2 teams, the first opponent to score 20 points wins this game. Considering the Browns' defense is what we expected, still a great front 7 and a great secondary, I think it's going to give troubles to the Giants' offensive line in particular, and it's going to be a trench battle, and I think the Browns will prevail in the end in this battle. We'll come out on top here. I think the Browns win 20-14 over the New York Giants. Now the Bears at the Colts. These are 2 interesting teams. The Bears kind of not looking the best on offense. There's been a lot of growing pains for the rookie quarterback Caleb Williams, as he got sacked, I think 5 or 6 times, maybe 7 times in that Sunday night game against the Houston Texans. Colts here had an update. DeForest Buckner, their Pro Bowl interior lineman, is going to be injured. He's not going to be active for this game. So this is going to be, I think this gives the Colts, gives the Bears reason to exploit their rush defense and run the ball here. They actually had a decent rush attack, but I just feel like they're not running it enough, and they need to help out their rookie quarterback as he still hasn't really settled into the pocket and gotten comfortable and gotten into a rhythm. This may be the game he does that due to help from their running game, as the Colts have struggled to defend the run in the last 2 weeks, allowing another 100+ yard rusher last week in Josh Jacobs of the Packers. The Colts are at home, and I got the home team losing here. I think the Colts, this will drop the Colts to 0-3, raise a lot of questions. Their quarterback, Anthony Richardson, I don't think it's going to be because of his bad play. I just think they won't. This Bears defense have given me reason to believe that they're no joke. They held up fairly well against the Texans, only allowing 19 points. So held the Texans to field goals, a very high-powered offense. I expect them to do the same here against the Colts, which isn't as consistent or high-powered as the Houston Texans. So I think the Bears come out with a win here. It'll look ugly, but it'll give them at 2-1 and drop the Colts to 0-3. I think the Bears win 21-19. Advancing now to the Texans. Texans at the Vikings. 2 matchups of undefeated teams. Both teams here are 2-0, surprising. Vikings beat the Niners again for the second year in a row last week, and the Texans took care of business against the Bears at home. The Vikings at home, that crowd is loud. Minnesota fans are very good at home, and I think that the Texans here will have the work cut out for them, as the Vikings defense under Brian Flores, who has been there, is now his second year there, I believe. They fly around, and they can do some damage. Sam Darnold is having a good resurgence here with Justin Jefferson. T.J. Hawkinson is not even active, but they haven't really shown that they need him as much. The Vikings have a good squad here, and so do the Texans. I expect this to be almost the game of the week, especially the early slate of Sunday games. I can see this being a fun game to watch for anybody, and I think in the end it'll be the Texans' running game that helps them in the end here. I think Joe Mixon was a great addition for him, and it'll show in this game, considering the Vikings' front seven is pretty stout. So I can see this being I got the home team dropping this one too, but it could go either way. But I'm going with the Texans here. I think they go to 3-0, and we'll touch up on that later, how that looks for the rest of the AFC South for the other teams in that division, and what I think that's going to happen, what their outcomes for Week 3 is going to be. But I do have I have the Texans beating the Vikings on the road here, 30-27. Now moving on, the Eagles at the Saints. Saints are 2-0. Eagles were one Saquon Barkley first down away from being 2-0 themselves. They lost to the Falcons last week, and now they play another NFC South opponent on the road in the Big Easy, the Superdome. Very hard place to play. The Saints fans get rowed and raunchous, so it's gonna be a test. It's gonna be a test for them. I think their defense had committed way too many penalties on Monday night. They're gonna try to limit that number, and the Saints showed their firepower last week against the Cowboys. I think the Saints here at home will probably, their run game will get I can see their running game taking off just as much as it did last week, considering the Falcons, Bate Gasky showed you a little blueprint how to attack Philadelphia's somewhat young defense, and they actually had Philadelphia had to use one of their younger DBs towards the end of that game last week. I can see the Saints here taking advantage of their speed. Rashid Shaheed, Chris Olave was very efficient last week. This is going to be a good game. I think Jalen Hurts keeps the Eagles in the game, but they need to be more consistent with their run game, considering Jalen Hurts was the one who led their team in rushing because of escaping the plays and extending plays. You don't necessarily want that against the Saints, as I think they have a better middle linebacking crew than the Falcons. Demario Davis, definitely former All-Pro veteran here, that's going to be keying in on Hurts. So that's something to look forward to there. And Chauncey Gardner-Johnson playing his former team, as he was drafted by the New Orleans Saints. Now he's a free safety for the Eagles on another one-year deal. But yeah, I do think the home team prevails here. This game could go either way, but I think they make the necessary conversions in the end of this game and hold on to the lead here. I think Derek Carr continues playing well. If they can protect him, then that's the best case scenario for the Saints here. I think the Saints win 28-24 over the Philadelphia Eagles. Moving on now, Chargers at the Steelers. Another two undefeated teams right now. Steelers at home, the Chargers on the road. The Chargers have established that they want to run a smash mouth type of offense, type of team now under Jim Harbaugh, which he did with the Niners 12 years back. J.K. Dobbins had 2 back-to-back 100-yard games in the first 2 games of the season. I don't think he gets his 3rd straight 100-yard game because the Steelers' front 7 has always been tough, regardless of personnel or how up and down in the statistics they've been for their defense as a whole. And Justin Fields is going to start again. Coach Mike Tomlin said that Justin Fields is likely to be the starter as Russell Wilson still nursing back from his calf injury. So I can see Justin Fields here. Between Fields and Herbert, the quarterback that makes the fewest mistakes, considering both defenses are playing a lot more faster. It was nice to see Quentin Johnston, the first-round pick of the Chargers from last year ago, get a couple touchdowns last week. Tougher matchup this week, as I think the Steelers, they just play more in your face, more physical, and Johnston's a big receiver, so he's got to prepare to be physical against the likes of Joey Porter Jr. and Minkah Fitzpatrick in the back of that secondary, who's the field general, along with Alex Highsmith, Cameron Hayward, and of course TJ Watt. TJ Watt on that field is the sole reason I got the Steelers prevailing at home, keeping them undefeated on the year, 3-0, dropping the Chargers their first loss. I think the Steelers win at home 23-19. Moving on now, Broncos at the Bucks. The Broncos have been a tough start for their rookie Bo Nix. Have 4 interceptions on the season, no pass touchdowns. Hasn't been easy. He's not really completing a lot of downfield throws. Maybe this is the game where they can try to get him some quicker rhythm throws. But the Buccaneers, another one of those tough front 7s that don't allow no 100-yard rushers or easy running games. They were the defense that stifled Jason Kelce and the Eagles' tush push last year in the playoffs. So I expect the Buccaneers to come out here and take care of business pretty handedly. I don't expect Baker Mayfield to have to throw the ball more than 25 to 28 times, even if their running game can't get much established. I think their defense holds it down. And then I think it's going to be a nice matchup to see Mike Evans against Pat Surtain. I'm not so sure we've seen that yet. So that's going to be fun to look for. And of course, Chris Godwin, Mike Evans' running buddy. He's been very solid so far this week. Has 2 touchdowns so far in the year. One in the last 2 games each. So if Evans is the one that's doing the damage, I can see Godwin the one converting in the red zone here. I think the Bucks win at home 23-13 over the Broncos, dropping the Broncos to 0-3, and the Bucks to 3-0. Packers at the Titans. Titans at home. It's been a rough couple of games. They've showed some promise. They've moved the ball, but their starting quarterback Will Levis have just made too many boneheaded plays, and he needs to learn from them soon. He's facing a good Packers team, another good defense, young. They fly around. Good linebacking core, Quay Walker, and they have a rookie from Texas A&M that was getting some snaps a couple of weeks ago too. Jair Alexander in the secondary. They just added Xavier McKinney, former Giant. I expect the Titans to have the lead. Malik Willis will make his 2nd consecutive start for the Packers. He just threw his first career touchdown pass last week in a win against the Colts. I think the Titans here at home will bolster a good fight, but I think the Packers make fewer mistakes simply as they'll make Josh Jacobs run the ball 35 times if they have to. If that's the best case for Malik Willis in order to keep him from sputtering or getting out of rhythm or being uncomfortable. He was comfortable enough to get him a win last week at home. I think they do the same here in Tennessee, dropping the Titans to 0-3. As I had said, the Colts earlier were also going to drop to 0-3. That's 2 0-3 teams now so far in the AFC South, as the front runners, the Houston Texans, I expect to be 3-0. But I do see the Titans losing here at home to the Packers 21-26. Packers prevailing. Then we got the 4 o'clock slate games. So the first, the midday games here. Panthers at the Raiders. I think the Panthers making this change at quarterback, benching Bryce Young and putting Andy Dalton in, will give maybe their offense will click a little bit more, because considering Andy Dalton's a veteran, but that offensive line still hasn't been very good. So I expect them to try to maybe establish a run, some quick throws, some screens. This Raiders defense had an amazing performance in the second half against the Ravens last week. Max Crosby, contention for defensive player of the year. He's going to be a contention for defensive player of the year down the stretch. And the Raiders looked pretty good with Gardner Minshew. He was feeding the ball to Devontae Adams. They looked like they were on the same page. Jacoby Myers and Brock Bowers, a rookie tight end, making that draft pick last year, Michael Mayer, look like an afterthought. Sorry to say, but That's good business for the Raiders. They're going to be at home here. I think they win. I think they beat the Panthers 34-20. It'll be the first time the Panthers get 20 points the whole first time they eclipse 20 points this season. That may not even be likely. But anywho, I got the Raiders winning 34-20. Dolphins at the Seahawks. The Dolphins are on the road here. No Tua Tagovailoa. I think Skylar Thompson will be their starting quarterback. Seahawks are 2-0. Mike McDonald, defensive-minded new head coach here. Got this defense looking better. They gave up a lot of passing yards last year, and so far they've been pretty good against the pass. And now they're facing Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, yet no Tua Tagovailoa to throw them the ball. So I expect the Dolphins to rely heavily on Devon A-Chain, considering Raheem Mostert is still on IR. We'll see how this goes for them, but I don't see the Seahawks giving up more than 120 rushing yards to the Dolphins. So they're going to have to beat their replacement quarterback's going to have to beat the Seahawks from the pocket, and I don't see that happening. So I think the Seahawks at home here prevail. I think they win 25-13, bringing the Seahawks to now 3-0, meaning that they would be the ones leading the NFC West, which early in the season would come off to a surprise to some. Lions at the Cardinals, two very competitive teams, two teams that like to run the football. I think this would be a very fun matchup. Along the lines like that Vikings and Texans game. This will be one of those games that is going to be entertaining, high-flying. Marvin Harrison Jr. just cemented himself, had 130 yards and 2 touchdowns on 4 catches in the first quarter. He's going to be matched up against Terrion Arnold and Carlton Davis in this matchup. Look for that one. I think they're going to key in on him, so other players for the Cardinals are going to have to step up and make some plays. Maybe Lou Dortch, Trey McBride, a very good tight end there from Colorado State. And James Conner is running the ball as good as ever behind this line. And I think that scheme is good for the Cardinals. Another home team that I think is going to drop a game. I do think this could go either way. It could be, I think the Lions win here because I think they should have beat the Bucs last week. The Bucs were held to 216 yards of total offense, as the Lions offense had over 400 yards of total offense and lost the game. They couldn't convert in the red zone. They had poor clock management at the end of the half. So I think Dan Campbell, their head coach, needs to swallow some of that pride when it comes to going for it on 4th down so much. I mean, the announcers talk about the game changing. There used to be a lot more punts back in the day. Playing it safe, rely on your defense. But I don't know. I think the Cardinals is a good enough team to take advantage of any mistakes that the Lions make. I don't see them making as many mistakes against this team, the Lions. I see them establishing the run heavy with Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery, just like I expect the Cardinals to rely heavy on running the ball with James Conner. And look out for Aiden Hutchinson. Kyler Murray's they're gonna have to figure out to protect Murray from Hutchinson, who had 4.5 sacks last week in the loss against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So I do think the Lions win on the road here, 31-30. But this can go either way. I can see the home team winning, but I can also see them losing because this is just one of those games. You never know what you're going to get. Ravens at the Cowboys, America's Game of the Week. The Ravens are 0-2. The Cowboys coming off of a home loss by 25 points. Bad effort on the defensive front 7. Secondary not put in good positions. Giving up too many big plays, chunk plays. Ravens lost their home opener, leading by 10 points in the 4th. Ended up losing by 3 to the Las Vegas Raiders. So I expect them to come out being desperate. Lamar Jackson is going to do everything and anything he can in his power to put his team in a position to win in the end here. And I think that's going to be the key for the Cowboys to get this win. Key in on Lamar. Don't let him get out the pocket and create plays. They need to get pressure. They need to keep his spies on him. And I look for Isaiah Likely to be a mismatch nightmare against these safeties and maybe some of these linebackers. I would expect him to have a better game than any of the wideouts for the Ravens here, considering the Cowboys do generally a decent job in covering wide receivers. The Cowboys have to establish the run, rely on play action, and they need to get the ball in the end zone when they get into the red zone. I believe they can move the ball against this Ravens defense, but if they can't get into the red zone when they need to, if they can't punch the ball into the end zone when they're in the red zone, I don't see them winning this game, and I think they fall short here. At home, I think they lose 27-20 against the Ravens. But it could go either way. We'll see how it goes. But excited to watch it, that's for sure. 49ers at the Rams. Rams are 0-2. They just lost Cooper Kupp to IR along with Puka Nacua, who was already placed on IR after their loss week 1. The Niners lost last week. They actually have lost Deebo Samuel. He got injured late in the game against the Vikings. He'll be sidelined for a couple of weeks. They still have Christian McCaffrey on IR with that Achilles injury. But with Brandon Ayuk and George Kittle and Jordan Mason, who is 2 back-to-back games running for 100 yards, along like J.K. Dobbins, I will think Mason's the one actually leading the league in rushing yards, though. I expect this game to go the way of the Niners. I think they run the ball here. The Rams are going to try their best, but it's just hard when you don't have your weapons. And they struggled mightily against the Cardinals' pass attack. I think the Niners, if they can just run the ball somewhat efficiently, their play-action game will open up everything they need to be opened up, and they'll take advantage of a division opponent here on the road. I think the Niners will beat the Rams 24-12. Now to Sunday Night Football. In good matchup here, the Chiefs at the Falcons. This is a big one. I remember something could have been 8 years ago when the last time the Chiefs played the Falcons in Atlanta. The game was decided on a 2-point conversion that was returned to the house by Eric Berry, former Chief, or a retired player now, former All-Pro safety. They ended up winning the game 29-28 because it was 28-27, and they tried to go for 2 to. The Falcons did, and they lost to the Chiefs. So that was, I think, the last time these two teams met in Atlanta. This time, I think the Falcons actually take this one. I think the Chiefs are the best team in the NFL. Their defense are led by Trent McDuffie, Nick Bolton, Chris Jones. They're just something to deal with. They fly around. Their offense had quite. Last week, they beat the Bengals by a point. They had a couple. Pat Mahomes threw 2 interceptions. Isaiah Pacheco has been sidelined. He got injured late in that game, so he won't play this game against the Falcons. But I still expect them to get their chunks. But the Falcons' defense has shown me that they're for real. They held the Eagles' offense to field goals, I think, on several drives that got the Eagles into the red zone, and they held them to field goals. And if you can do that against a team like the Chiefs, you have a chance to win. And considering they're at home, Kirk Cousins started to look more like his original self before his Achilles injury last week against the Eagles. I think this game here, he's gonna light him up with the play action, as I expect them to run the ball with Tyler Algier and Bijan Robinson, as they had much success on Monday night. So I expect this to be another one of those games where you go either way, but definitely a great option, great choice for Sunday Night Football. Finish the Sunday slate of games with a very good two good teams. I think the Falcons are going to win this game because they need to keep up with the New Orleans Saints and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in the NFC South. That division looking a lot better than what most people anticipated before the season started. I think the Falcons do hand the Chiefs their first loss of the season here, 27-26 at home in Atlanta. Monday Night Football, there's a doubleheader. The first of the two, which comes on an hour before the second one starts. It's the Jaguars at the Bills. I think the Jaguars, this is the last AFC South team that I'm covering. I already had the Texans winning, being 3-0, the other two losing, dropping 0-3. I think the Jaguars also drop this and go to 0-3, meaning the Texans had a 3-game lead on all their other opponents in the AFC South. Bills at home, I just don't see them losing at home. Bills Mafia, they've been running the ball very efficiently with James Cook. He looks very elusive. Their offensive line, led by Deion Dawkins, their left tackle, and some good players up front. Josh Allen their coaching staff has taken the ball more out of his hands. But even when the ball's in his hands, he makes plays in the ground game and is as good as ever as throwing the ball. And he has a consistent weapons at receiver now. Very young, but so far they've looked consistent. And this is going to be hard for the Jaguars to deal with, considering they sputtered late in the game 2 weeks ago against the Dolphins and lost last week a close one against the Browns on the road. On the road here, I think they lose again. I think the Bills prevail 31-28, dropping the Jaguars to 0-3, and the Bills are 3-0, leading the AFC East division. Commanders at the Bengals is the last game of the week, the second Monday night game. The Bengals almost were at risk of starting 0-3 last year. I think they had the Monday night slot and played the Rams, which they beat the Rams. I think they brought them to 1-2. And then they lost the next week and they were 1-3. But obviously, no one wants to start 0-3. I think the Commanders were impressive last week. Jaden Daniels, out of all the rookie quarterbacks that are playing, he's probably looked the most impressive. Hasn't thrown a touchdown pass, but he hasn't thrown an interception either. And rushed for a couple of touchdowns. But the Bengals here, they have a good linebacking core: Logan Wilson, Jermaine Pratt, and their secondary is also pretty good. I think they shut down the Commanders' receivers. I can see scary Terry McLaurin getting his, but it won't be enough to upset to beat the Bengals here. The Bengals are at home. Commanders did have a 100-yard rusher in Brian Robinson Jr., but they're gonna have to rely on a lot more than just him against this Bengals defense, who are coming off of a disappointing loss to the Chiefs. So they need to win this game at home in order to keep up with the other teams in the AFC North, considering I think the Steelers are going to be 3-0. Ravens obviously are 0-2, just like the Bengals. Both of these teams are going to be desperate, both playing NFC East opponents. And in this one, with the Bengals at home, I think they pull it off here. I think Joe Burrow, I don't think the Commanders pressure the quarterback as well as they want. So that's going to mean Joe Burrow will have some time to pass the ball. I know he has some disgruntled receivers and T. Higgins and Jamar Chase, but all that's going to have to be put aside. It's time to play football. Season matters, team matters, winning matters. That's what they need to focus on. And I think Joe Burrow knows that too. I think they win though 26-19. That wraps up week 3, almost week 4, so I can start throwing those upset alerts. I hope I get more than 8 games right. And then maybe one of these scores will get close. Last week I didn't really mention any. If there was close scores from last week, I would have mentioned them. Like I predicted the Bills won 31-10. I predicted them losing 31-34. So I got their points right, but obviously I didn't have winning, and the Dolphins only had 10 and not 34. So I'll try to sum up the scores, how close I was on some of these scores. But I didn't get no scores right in week 2. We'll see if that changes week 3, and a video will follow on how that game went. So for now, I want you guys to enjoy this upcoming week of football. We're in the midst of it. Fall is coming. You see those leaves out there getting colored. So get ready to start staying warm. Love you guys. Enjoy this week of football coming up.